You're listening to the Savvy Painter Podcast, episode number 371. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Savvy Painter Podcast. I'm your host, Antrice Wood, and if you've been listening for a while, welcome back. If you're new here, I am so glad that you found the podcast. Savvy Painter is the podcast for artists who want practical, tactical tips to create a meaningful art practice that is both fulfilling and supports you. I hope you are doing fabulous this week. I am recording this, getting ready to go to Mexico for a retreat that I am super excited about. I'm about to spend 10 days. Actually, as you are listening to this, I will already be there with an amazing group of artists, and we are going to have so much fun wandering around Oaxaca, looking at the pyramids, seeing all the color and all the beauty that is in that amazing city. So today I'm recording this episode, packing my bags, making sure I've got everything. And I know my dogs know something is up. They are so funny. They are absolute Velcro today and all weekend. It's been kind of amusing. So some of you might remember I planned this trip with my friend Gabriella, and we are going to just spend 10 days gathering inspiration, sketching, and wandering around, looking, noticing the things that stand out, noticing colors, noticing textures, and all the flavors of Oaxaca. It's been something that we have been working on for months and months and months to design this retreat to make it really special. So I'm so excited that it's finally here. And that idea of noticing is kind of what this episode is all about. In this episode, I want to talk about something that sounds deceptively simple, but it might be the most powerful thing that I teach. And I almost didn't make an episode about it because it's just so easy to underestimate, even for me sometimes. So every single coaching call, I ask my clients if they have any wins or if they've had any insights since the last time that we talked. And so often an artist will start off by saying, well, I don't know if this is really a win, but I had this experience where I normally would do X, and I noticed what I was thinking about before I responded. And that's when I usually get a huge grin on my face because noticing your own thought patterns is huge. They always think it's a small thing, a little win. I call it a little big win because, again, it is huge. Here's the deal. The noticing itself is the shift. It is the movement. It is one of the biggest markers, not the changing, not the fixing, not doing it differently next time. It's the noticing. So stay with me a minute while I explain what I actually mean by that. And I'm also going to give you some examples so that you can really lock it in. Most of us move through our day, through our practice on automatic pilot. We all have old thought patterns running around in the background. On average, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Amazing, right? I'm always astounded by that number, that my brain goes through 60,000 thoughts in a single day, on average. And 90% of those thoughts that we have are the same thoughts that we had yesterday and the same thoughts that we had the day before, which means that on average, you and me, we're repeating 54,000 thoughts. Same old, on repeat. Those are unconscious thoughts, the things that we just automatically think. It's not always a bad thing, though. Our brain needs shortcuts, and it also loves predictability. So many of those thoughts we want to keep thinking, but some of them just aren't that helpful. Like, for example, when the inner critic is doing its thing. The self-doubt, the comparison, that quiet background noise of, I should be further along by now. And because these thought patterns are automatic, we don't see them coming from the outside. We're just inside of them. They feel normal And like, it's just the way that things are. It's almost like we just accept these thoughts as absolute truth. We don't even think to question them until we start to notice. And then we're like, wait a minute, that's not a great thought. It's not creating the results that I want in my life. In fact, it's doing the opposite. And you notice that when you had that thought, you felt bad, or you made a decision that you would prefer to have made differently. And here's what happens the moment that you notice that unconscious pattern. You're no longer inside of it. You're no longer controlled by it. You're observing it. And that observation creates a little pause. And that little pause, even if it's a teensy tiny gap between the old pattern firing and you responding to it, that is where everything becomes available to you. That is where you have opportunity. That gap is where you get to choose, and you can choose differently. So I remember a few years ago, this might seem like an off track, but I promise it connects. I remember a few years ago, I was looking at some financial statements and I saw this sentence that is printed on every single investment page. And it said really quickly on all the commercials at the end. It's that fine print that we constantly see and hear. And I just burst out laughing because in that moment, and ever since, that sentence that we hear and see constantly had a whole new meaning for me. And it's kind of become a little bit of a mantra for me. And that is, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Just because you've always done something or thought something doesn't mean you always will. Just because your inner critic had been vocal most of your life doesn't mean it will be in your future. Just because you had questioned yourself and second guessed your decisions in the past doesn't mean you will now or in the future. Even if the past was 5 minutes ago, it's still the past. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. And the key is noticing and becoming aware of how you had been thinking and what created the results you have today. It starts with just noticing, just becoming aware. This isn't just a nice idea. This is how our brains actually work. When you notice a thought or a pattern, you activate a different part of the brain than the one running the automatic response. You can't simultaneously be inside the reactive pattern and observing it, which is one of the many miracles of being a human, is that we can observe our own behavior. The noticing breaks the circuit. That's brain rewiring happening in real time, right there, in the pause. And here's why this matters so specifically for artists. A lot of us have learned through well-meaning teachers, through the art world, through years of having the inner critic rambling on inside of our head, that catching yourself in a thought pattern like that is embarrassing. It means you should have known better. You should know better by now. You shouldn't still be thinking that. And I want to turn that idea completely around. When you notice something, when you catch yourself in the self-criticism or in the avoidance or in the procrastination or in a comparison spiral, that is a hero moment. It's not a moment to feel bad that you're doing it. It's a moment to be like, whoa, I just noticed what my brain was automatically doing. And now I have an opportunity to adjust. That's a hero moment because the noticing is proof that you're no longer running on automatic pilot. The awareness itself is the shift. What you just did matters a lot. And I'm serious, it is huge. So I want to tell you a story about an artist in Growth Studio. Her name is Sheila. And she had been trying to get into her home studio one afternoon, but other things kept pulling her away. And by the time she had a free moment, she noticed something, a tightness in her chest. There was tension. She felt a little agitated. And underneath all of that, a voice that had been beating her up for not being productive. And here's the part that I want you to pay attention to. She did not white knuckle her way through the self-criticism. She didn't push past it. She didn't pretend it wasn't there. She just noticed it and she acknowledged that it was there. She said to herself, I recognize what's happening. And she took herself through a round of tapping to self-regulate. That is having her own back. That was the choice that she made in that moment. She noticed, she reflected, and then she made a conscious decision to have her own back and took a moment to tap and regulate herself. See how that works? She had the awareness, that noticing, she paused and chose to meet herself with kindness rather than criticism. She became the person who showed up for herself in that moment. And later, after some time with her own work, she sat with her coffee, looking through her portfolio, and she said, you know what? I am proud of these paintings. They are beautiful. What changed between that feeling in her body, that tight-chested agitation, and the quiet appreciation wasn't the paintings. The paintings stayed exactly the same. It was her thinking. It was her mind. The work that happened in between wasn't just the tapping, it was the noticing. It was the choice to meet herself differently. That is what cleared the way for her to see her own work clearly. And that's how it works. The noticing is the first move, and everything follows from there. So I know that noticing often doesn't feel like a big deal in the moment. It's like, I just noticed it, right? And at first, you might notice it, but you might still do the same thing. But here's the deal. Like I said before, you are actively rewiring your brain. And when you practice noticing, you practice that awareness of what is happening in your mind. And sometimes the easiest way, sometimes we don't even know what exactly we're thinking, but we might feel it somewhere in our body. So even noticing that there's a feeling, even when you're not certain about the thought that preceded it, just that is developing the new habit. And when you practice that in little daily tiny moments, and most likely you won't do it all the time, you won't realize it, you won't be aware, you won't notice all of the time, but you'll start to notice it enough. What I always tell the artists in growth studio, especially when they first come in, is just start noticing in the small moments in your studio, going about your daily business, nothing fancy. Just start to notice what your thoughts are or what the feeling in your body is when you start to experience negative thoughts, that inner critic, self-doubt, when you go into your studio and you just can't bring yourself to start painting, just become aware of what's happening in your body or what you were just thinking about. And then that's it. You don't have to do anything else. Well, maybe except not judge yourself for having those thoughts, whatever it is, for having that feeling. It's just to notice its presence, to acknowledge it's there without judgment or criticism. And I know that that sounds simple, but it's a skill. It takes some time to develop because so often we practice the skill and then a day or two later, we think we should automatically be great at it. And again, that voice starts coming in. So we just want to practice over and over again, just getting as many reps as we can and just noticing, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? In the negative moments and in the positive moments, both of those. We want to know how that feels and what we're thinking about. And that's it. So now I want to tell you why that matters so much. Here's a different kind of noticing. This one under pressure. Another artist in Growth Studio, Gabriella, organized a show at a coffee shop. And installation day came and things started going a little bit sideways. The QR codes failed. Her kids got sick. She was troubleshooting live in front of everyone. And here's what she told me about how she got through it. each thing that came up, I was really trying to flip the script in my head. And that was a big win. When something went wrong, she'd ask herself, what would we say inside Growth Studio? What would that voice sound like? And the reframe she landed on was this: this is what I said yes to, so I could learn and I can practice. Not, I'm failing and everyone can see it, but this is practice. This is what I signed up for. So when the QR codes weren't working, she was able to flip the script inside of her head. She paused, she noticed what she was feeling, she noticed what was going on inside of herself, and then she consciously made the choice to reframe and flip the script. That's the noticing that is creating the pause. She could feel that old script starting, the embarrassment, the panic, and she caught it. And in that gap, she chose a different story and created a totally different experience for herself. She didn't eliminate the difficulty. The QR codes still didn't work, but she met it from a completely different place because she'd already practiced noticing in those lower stakes moments. The reason Gabriella could flip the script under pressure is that she'd been building the habit before she needed it. A 5-minute daily practice on her craziest days, journaling, keeping her thread going. She'd been building self-trust in small ways so that when the high stakes moment arrived, that noticing was already available to her. She had elevated her capacity to such an extent that she could just do it even when she felt pressure. So this self-trust isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the tiny little moments inside of our practice. And then because we built it there, it shows up for you when you need it the most. You're already building it. Every time you notice, every time you pause, every time you choose, you're already doing that work. So here's what I want you to remember. The next time that you catch yourself in a pattern that's not helpful, that doesn't serve you, the self-criticism, the comparison, the I'm doing it wrong spiral, here's what I want to invite you to try on. Before you make that move to fix it or push through it, just pause. Pause and just notice. Notice what it feels like in your body. Notice what the experience is like for you. And just sit with it. And as much as you can, notice the qualities of it. Notice if it is a buzzy feeling, if it is a strong feeling, a weak feeling, a warm feeling, or if there's any kind of temperature to it, or if there is any edges to it. You know, if you can feel it in your body, where do you feel it? And how big is it? That sensation, how far out does it radiate? Just sit with it and notice all of the qualities and just let yourself be with it and be in that awareness. And notice that you noticed it, right? Little meta there, I know, but just notice that you noticed it. You just want to kind of put a pin in that, like, hey, I noticed that I'm having this sensation, because that noticing, that's already the shift. You're becoming aware, and that awareness, that pause, that choice point, you just created it. That's where it starts. So like I said, this is a practice that we do inside of Growth Studio, not just talking about it, but actually practicing it together with a community, with accountability, with people who will celebrate your noticing the same way I do. No joke, I get really excited about it. So if you've been curious about what that looks like, I will put a link in the show notes. But that is what I have for you today. It's a simple concept, but it is so powerful. Practice it in your studio, practice it in the little moments, practice when you're driving. It's another great place to practice it. Just like, I noticed I'm getting irritated with the driver in front of me. Or, oh, I noticed that I'm feeling generous. I'm going to let that person come in, right? Whatever it is, just notice it. It's simple, it's powerful, easy to do, but not quite so easy to remember all the time, which is why we just want to practice it in all those little moments so that it becomes a habit and you are able to practice it in the bigger moments when you need it the most. Okay, that's what I have for you today. I hope you have a beautiful week and I will talk to you again soon.